way. My life just started. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. I start my life, and whatever you do all in. And you feel when you start taking care of yourself, you feel like literally you're starting to live. You could be 60 and you're starting to live. Doesn't matter how bad it's been yesterday or even today or how far it is. I should have started when I was 20. No. You start today. It doesn't matter if you're 40. It doesn't matter how old you are. I guarantee you one thing. Forget about the size of your dress. It's all pretty. It's great. The compliments, it's nice. It feels good. It gets old, right? It gets old. The compliments get old. But you know what never gets old? I tell my kids, you could try running. You could try working out. You're never going to catch up to me, boy. Never. Because you know what? I'm never stopping. Not just mine. It's the world's.
So
I think
tell
that
us.
people have so much in them. We don't even realize it. We have so much. You know, when you realize, you're a daughter, right? But then you become a wife. And if you become a wife, there's another part of you that you break into. Then you have a kid and you become a mom. And all of a sudden, there's another part of you that you break into. Like I took my kid jet skiing for his 16th birthday the other day. And he was working in the camp in the summer. He's saying to me, he's like, Dad, Abba, I have all these kids looking up to me as if I'm like 1,000 years old. I don't know anything. I'm just 16, you know? And I said to him, like, you want to know something, buddy? That's what it's like to be a dad.
Exactly.
I know what I'm doing. You think I'm the smartest guy in the whole world. I don't know what I'm doing, but
We're all making it up as we go along. I think he's having a little touch of like imposter syndrome, right? Like he's like, oh my God, can I really do this? Can I really be a role model? And you're showing him that, yeah, that's what you do.
that's exactly it. There's no such thing as, okay, you're ready. I think that, whether you're the greatest singer in the world, people get nervous. The difference between somebody who's ready to do something or not is just that they do it. It's not that all of a sudden, okay, I'm ready to be a dad. No, I do it. I rise up to the occasion. I rise up to the responsibility. I push into myself. And that's what's crazy about human beings. There's so much in us. It's endless. It's infinite. You could break out. If there's a bear chasing you, suddenly you know how to run. How'd that happen? If there's fire, you suddenly know how to get down to the ground. How does that happen? You break into yourself, and there's so much energy. It's not just potential tomorrow. It's literally right now. If you could dream it, you could do it. And if you could do it.
Here's a question that my audience might be wondering, which is, you're talking about if there's a fire, right? You suddenly know how to put it out, or if there's a bear, then you suddenly know how to run, right? How do you create this sense of urgency? I have it, you have it. And I think that you'll be able to answer and speak on this probably even better than I can, which is if there is no fire, right? Or there is no bear, and there's just a normal Tuesday and a normal Wednesday, how do you create that urgency? And probably more importantly, how do you keep that going?
Love it. I love the question. I appreciate it. The answer is, in my humble opinion, is that everyone has a fire. If there's a heart beating in your chest, if there's a soul that's keeping you alive and you open your eyes in the morning, there's a burning fire to stay alive and to breathe. It happens to be, it's an intense thing, but there have been people that have attempted. I actually went to a suicide prevention class last week, a certification class. And one of the things they were saying there is that oftentimes people who attempt suicide and at the last second something goes wrong, they're suddenly filled with this insane will to survive. It's unbelievable. And they tap into that survival. Where did that come from? They don't want to survive. What happened?
Even like when people are in the worst, right, in the worst possible situation, right, where you would think that death would be, right, think about like the Holocaust, God forbid, or right, real trauma, right? It's all about survival. There's that instinct, which is, make it through another day, make it through another hour, right? That will to survive doesn't go away, even for most people, even under the most duress, even under the worst duress, even when there's not a lot of hope in sight, it's just burning there. So
Absolutely.
then the question is, why aren't people tapped into it?
Got it. Okay, so here's that point. Exactly. So then what's wrong, right? What's wrong with me? I have no motivation. I have no inspiration. I don't want to get healthy. I don't want to get married. I don't want to make my own business. I don't want to get out of bed. What's wrong with me? So what happens is that even though we have this fire, we get burned from life. We're so excited. These kids are born. They're so excited. They run, they climb trees, they fly off the buildings, they're running in the dirt. And all of a sudden life gets in the way and starts burning us out and messes us up. So we have traumas, we have pain that we went through. Maybe we're scared, we have fears, right? All that's normal. The problem is that we bury that beautiful light under pounds and pounds and layers of blankets. And then we get so far away from that fire that we think we don't even have it anymore. But the truth is that one by one, if we start to unravel one blanket at a time, we start to realize there's a voice inside. The reason why we don't hear the voice is because we almost never listen to it ever. That means I wake up in the morning, boom, cell phone. I go from the phone, videos, and right away I get depressed because I look at someone else's life. She's so much more beautiful than me. She's so much thinner than me. He's so much stronger than me. He's making so much more money than me. Boom, I start my morning with depression. Then I run to the car, I go to work. Then I have 2 seconds, I go back to texting. I don't have 2 seconds in my brain. So let me ask you a question. You're telling me you don't have the inner voice. When was the last time you spent time in the woods, by the beach, by yourself, listening to that voice? It's in there. Everyone has it. It's in there. It's inside you. I could do better than this. I could be better than that. I know I could have done that. I don't like this. This life is not good for me. It's not good
That's
enough.
a beautiful answer. So you're basically saying that it's there, it's quiet. We're just not even tuning in and listening. I don't know if you know my journey at all in the last year or so. I don't know how you would, but last July, I took on Hitbodedut as a daily practice. Thank God, thank God, thank God. I have not missed a day since then. So it's been 14 months and change, just about.
Wow. Every day? Every day?
Every day. So the way it evolved, and some of you will have heard this on another podcast, was that I met somebody who is a Hitbodedut coach, and she's a spirituality coach. And I met her randomly in another way, and she encouraged me to take it on. And I said, sure, no problem. I'll try for 2 days a week. And she said, no, you're going to do it daily. I said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to commit to daily because I don't think I can do it daily. So she said, well, you have to do it daily. And I said, I'll do 3 times a week. She said, you have to do it daily, even if it's for 2 minutes. And I said, you can't trick me, because I know that once I'm doing 2 minutes, I'm going to do more. I do that to my clients all the time. I tell them, just get on the treadmill. You're not going to get me. And then I was like, you know what? Fine. I'll listen to you and I'll do it daily, but I'm not committing to daily forever. I'm just going to start with the daily and see how long it goes. And here I am 14 months later. And I think that tuning in, the morning Hitbodedut is, my connection to God, but it's really also like exactly what you just said, which is my connection inward to myself and actually listening and then becoming aligned with what my inner voice is saying. And I think that that's kind of the message that you're giving over right now, which is that we all have that fire burning, but it might just be like a little flickering flame, and it's soft. And if we don't focus, if we don't listen, if we don't tune in, we'll miss it.
That's amazing. Can I ask you a question? First of all, how many days straight you said you've been going?
So I stopped counting days once I passed a year, but I'm counting. It's kind of like when babies are like 28 months and then they're like 42 months, and right. So now I'm going by months. So I'm up to 14 months, thank God.
It's like
but I haven't missed a day. Yeah.
So I want to just ask you if I could just flip the podcast on you for
no
a second.
problem.
If you could just go into your rawest, really just most deepest place in your mind when you're in that meditation. All right, the world is quiet. You're in that meditation of thinking about anything you're in your mind. Could you just take us in for a second? What is that experience like for you, for real? Just that rawness. What do you feel when you're in that place? What are you feeling at that moment?
So every day is actually different. But I think that, and some days I'm able to tune in more deeply and some days less deeply. I used to give it 10 or 15 minutes. Now it takes me 45 minutes or even longer, as I get more in touch with, closer to myself and closer to Hashem, which is, happening at the same time. Every time is different, but sometimes sometimes it's self-compassion and self-forgiveness, and sometimes it's clarity, and sometimes it's tremendous amount of gratitude, and sometimes it's just where I want to be putting my focus and realigning myself with myself. But I really can't say that any 2 days are alike at all. I have a framework for it, which is I start with gratitude, then I just sort of take stock of where I'm at, and then I just sort of discuss with God what I need. But I first move into that state of gratitude. But I tap into what's real, and I tap into what's real. I tap into what I think Hashem might want from me. I tap into what I want for myself. And then I start my day. I'm wondering if because you were talking about meditation and stuff. Do you have a practice like this as well?
Every day of my life. Just a couple of things I want to just speak about what you just said. Could you just tell me in one word? It doesn't have to be one word, but like, what is one of the greatest impacts that you could say this had on you over the past 14 months? In like very short. And don't worry, but there's no right answer. I'm just actually curious, and I want people to hear what it means to somebody to actually do this practice.
The greatest impact for me would probably be a tremendous amount of I think it's understanding Hashem's love for me, and then sort of putting that, and then at the same time that transferring that love to myself. Um, it's I know it sounds kind of like a stretch, or like where that's sort of coming out of left field, but I really think that that's the core change that happened to me through this Bodhidut. And I think that that's one of the most empowering things in the world, which is understanding God's love, understanding the magnitude of it, and then therefore realizing your value and your preciousness and your worth. That's been my experience.
So it helped you love yourself overall more.
It helped me love myself through understanding God, through understanding, but not on a surface level of like, I always kind of had a lot of self-confidence, but this, a deeper core worthiness.
Passion.
Yeah, a core worthiness that
wow.
is unshakable because there's a breath of God inside of me. And the closer I get to, the more I develop my relationship with Hashem, the more I realize that I don't have a right to feel unworthy, because there's God inside of me. And so I'm nothing but worthiness, no matter what, right? And then I became a little Breslov along the way too, and I could thank Gedalia Fenster for that. But I think that that's a big piece of his teachings also. And it's kind of transformed my relationship with myself and with Hashem. And I think the logical part of my brain kind of goes to, well, if God wants us to love each other no matter what, then he must love me no matter what. And that, and sort of that understanding. And then as I developed that relationship with Hashem and understanding that Hashem is inside of me, that peace inside of me, then you end up in a place of real self-love, not because of how you look or even how you act or anything you've done, but just because of the Tzelem Elokim there. So that's developed for me. What about you? We got to turn this around to you, John.
The word worthy is so meaningful to me. That's where it all starts. If I look at myself like a piece of garbage, then why should I invest in myself? Of course I look like crap. I am a piece of crap, I feel like garbage inside. I talk to myself like garbage, and who wants to marry me? And if I feel like that, no one's gonna want to marry me. And if I look at myself like a bad father, I'm gonna be a bad father. And if I don't want to take care of myself because I don't feel worthy, why would I have a company and a business? Who wants to even hear a word that I have to say? We all have that demon,
I think that runs deep for a lot of people. I think that's a core piece. I think when I talk about motivation, the three pieces, and you brought this up, which is, the three pieces are: I want it, which I think we all want it, right? I know how to get it, which I think me and you help on that too, right? And I believe I can, or I believe I'm worthy to, which, kind of goes hand in hand, which I think we both have that kind of extra element to our coaching programs, which is not just, you don't just get people fit, right? You transform. And I don't just help people get to their goal weight, we transform. So speak on that a bit.
And most importantly, I do it, not just I'm worthy and I know what to do, but I do it. That's where the real work starts, is from the do it. So meditation for me, I actually got into meditation a long time ago, way before it became cool. And it turns out that, people travel the whole world to find inner peace and meditation, but really Judaism actually is the most rich, is extremely rich in meditative practice. I actually named one of my kids after Rabbi R.A. Kaplan because he had such an effect on me 30, I don't know, maybe 20 something years ago. I was already reading his books on meditation. And one thing that he pointed out, which was so brilliant, is that our daily prayer is, in fact, a meditation. Unfortunately, we're sometimes so bad at keeping focus that it's just like it's a good time to make your shopping list when you pray,
Right.
But the truth is that it's a deep meditative practice to go inside your head and inside your heart. And I really feel like when you practice this, when you start to make more time with yourself, you become in tune with yourself, you bring up that worthiness. There's a natural speech that you hear. There's a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, and he writes this incredible concept. He talks about the muse as a river. There's a river that flows underneath every single one of us. You could call it Siyata Dishmaya, you could call it your soul, he calls it the muse, and it tells you stuff, it rewards you. And when you work on it, when you work on yourself, you spend time thinking, developing, it gives you more. Anyone will notice that when you go all in on something, whatever it
Yeah.
is, you start to spend time in it, it just comes like into your brain. You have an idea, you have another idea, and then you follow up and you
Yeah.
what about this and bring up
We
that.
call this a little touch of Ruach HaKodesh or like a Baskol, right? You
That's
get that,
right.
like you get that inner voice. And I've had that, I'm sure you've had that meditating. I've had that in Bodhidut. You don't know when it's going to come. You just get like jumped by it. It literally jumps you.
All day, literally
Yeah.
all day. My phone I have my notes. It's one of my best friends. All day long, this stuff comes to me all day. I'm in super in tune. And as soon as something comes, boom, I write it down. And the next step is to break it into actual practical steps to make it happen. Everyone asks, okay, you make a match between a girl and a boy. Who gets the money? The one who has the idea or the one who makes the marriage happen?
Right.
Who gets the money? The one who makes it happen. Because ideas are cheap. They come and they go and they flow all day long. But you take that inspiration in that moment and you actually write it down, and then you make a plan and you actually envision, you dream of making this part of your life. And it's so easy. You just break it down and you speak to it. So when you asked me earlier, how do you give somebody, some people don't have the fire. Everyone has the fire. You have to listen to the voice. You have to make time for yourself. If you have to give yourself at least an hour, maybe a half hour, maybe 10 minutes. Find the tree, find the park, find the dock, find the piece of grass where there's nobody around, no phone, no music, no headphones, and just breathe from it. Just look around, look at the squirrel and look at the tree and listen. And all of a sudden it just comes to you. You start to know right away things that are not going great in your life, things that you would like to change. You don't have to have the plan yet, but you just have to have a vision. And
Yeah.
right away, you just
Just
allow it.
start that conversation with
Start the
yourself, with God.
conversation.
I was at a Gedalia Fenster event last week, and he did a Q&A at the end, and one of the women asked, like, if I don't know where to start, can I just start with 5 minutes? And he's like, you need 5 hours, and I was like, oh my God, don't tell her that. He's amazing. He's the one who got me into this. But what I think people need to hear is start small, take 5 minutes, but do the committed work of 5 minutes every single day, even 3 minutes every single day. Because that's, but with the commitment of daily, because otherwise one excuse becomes 2 excuses, 2 excuses become 10 excuses. And before you know it, you're out of practice. And not every day has to be just show up. Not every day has to be, a rock star or like mind bending experience or anything like that. Just show up the same way, like for those of us that have, older teenagers, my teenagers are getting older. I don't know what age your kids are, but it sounds like you have a 16-year-old for sure.
My oldest, my daughter, she's turning 18. So
yeah. So like sometimes you have a really good heart to heart, right? And sometimes you just check in for a couple minutes and like they really don't have a lot of time, but you try not to go, I'm assuming you try not to go a whole day without talking to them, right? My kid is 19. Sometimes we're like passing ships. Sometimes we have a really good conversation, but I'll try to never go a full day without at least getting on the phone. Hey, how's it going? Even if we didn't, run into each other on our ways in and out. Because that's the daily connection, right? And I think that for people who are scared of this idea of taking on too much, just show up every single day. And sometimes, and try to set a set time amount, but at least do a minimum of showing up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if showing up is too hard for you and you're not even there yet, then that's also okay. There's 100 steps backwards. At least do a minimum of envisioning what you want for yourself. A lot of, we're going to discuss motivation later and whatever, but sometimes I just need to know what I believe is important. If I know what's important, I don't have to know how to do it or what to do. Like, it's important to me to be a good father. I might not know what to do, how to do, right? I had my first kid, I was 20 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I want to be a good father. At least I could start there. And anything I do right or wrong, I always could go back to my baseline. I want to be a good dad. The same thing goes with getting to know myself, or I want to bring up my self-worth. I feel like the voice I speak to myself is low. I want to bring that up. I might not know what to do, but at least if I know for sure that I want to make my value better, then I could once in a while, every day, maybe not every day, maybe I'm not there yet, but one day. And then if I have a bad day, that's okay. Because I go back to my baseline. My baseline says I want to work
think
up.
the baseline that you're talking about is what I call like first just creating the vision, right? So if I don't have the vision of good dad or healthy self-image or physically fit or emotionally, right? Or if I have no vision, so I have no, if I'm not going anywhere, so I don't have directions, right? I might not have the directions, but I have to know where I want to go. So I want to just create that vision first. And it could be super simple, a one-liner. I want to be, right? I want to be emotionally healthy. I want to be emotionally happy. I want to be kind. I want to take care of my loved ones well, right? A simple one line. And then everything sort of leads back to that vision. And it keeps us kind of in check. So John, let me ask you this. How in the world did you get started with this?
Depends how far back you want me to go.
Oh, well, let's go back to like 15 years. I don't know. Because that's what I read in your bio.
15 years. Well,
Yeah.
I had spoken in front of a big crowd, and after I sat down, somebody said to me, John, you must be a family of speakers, you know? I can never speak, they said to me. And I'm like, I wanted to just punch them in the face right there. Don't worry, I don't actually do that. But I said, you crazy? Do you know why I'm a speaker? Because I spoke 100,000 times. That's why. And they all were hard every single time, including this one. So for people to think, oh, John, it's easy for you. You're not. When I hear people tell me my genetics, I'm genetically strong. I want to just explode because they don't understand 24 hours a day, the struggle, and how I'm naturally this big, lazy, fat lump of lard who doesn't want to move, doesn't want to be productive, wants to play video games and watch TV and eat potato chips, which I've done. And I continue to fight.
That's everybody's body. The body wants to pull you down. That is what a body is. The body wants to rest. The body wants to conserve energy, sit on the couch. That is the body. It's the spirit, the fire that you're talking about.
That's right. And guess what? It drives me because I'm not going to give in ever. I'm not going to let it take over. So I actually did not grow up with eating well, exercise. This was not part of my life whatsoever. I was a very heavy kid, which a lot of people say all the time. I was a big fat boy. I never liked it when they said the word fatso, which I heard a lot. I was a big boy. I was a huge eater. I'm still a huge eater. Food is number one. I love it. And after being, heavy and suffering for a while, I ended up becoming a very extreme macrobiotic vegan, which is also before it was cool. This is when I was a young teenager.
It's still not cool, by the way. It's extreme and it's dysfunctional, but keep going. We'll talk about that soon.
I would very comfortably say that I had an eating disorder, and I did not eat a lot for 5 years. So I lost a ton of weight, became very thin. When I went to Israel for a year, I ate basically hearts of palm in a can, and not much, some candy, pasta. That was like my only thing I ate once in a while. So I did not really have an understanding of healthy eating. I went very extreme. That's just super crazy extreme and wasn't working for me. I ended up starting to exercise, and when I exercised, I had no nutrition in me. So there were these shapes on me, but if you touched it, it was like soft. I was like, what is wrong with my body? I didn't know anything about nutrition, zero. Eventually I got back into eating regular. We went to Israel for many, many years. When I came back from Israel, I was like American food. I started pounding iced tea and I started eating again. When I went to college, I was in college in Brooklyn, and the devil took over. I was going between class or 3 pizza stores. So what I would do is I would get 3 slices from each one because I'm a big dude. I can handle it. And then I go to a candy store and I get tons of candy for class. So I'm holding by like, I don't know, 3, 6, 9 slices of pizza with fries and soda because it's free refills.
You're up to like 7,000 calories. But
forget about it. And I'm eating the candy during class, and the whole class, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner. Usually shawarma, steak. This was every night. So I became very, very big. And I started feeling really bad about myself. I'm married. I have some kids now. God bless my wife. She always loving and supportive. Doesn't see anything but beauty no matter what,
God bless her.
And I had a couple of things that happened to me that just, obviously I never felt good about it, but a couple of things that happened to me that just kind of made me snap. One of them is I had to catch a train for school, and I ran, I don't know, 1 minute, and I spent the entire train ride coughing, heaving, felt sick, and I'm 20 something years old, I was so embarrassed of myself, and I felt like sick. This isn't normal, that was one telling moment.
That was a wake-up call.
Wake up call number 1. Wake up call number 2 is I was measuring a suitcase for somebody. So you step on the scale first, and then
This is going to be great.
You step on the scale with the suitcase, and then you see the difference to know how much it weighs. It was one of these old scales that one full circle goes back to 0, at 300 pounds, and it was on.
I remember
0.
those.
I am 300 pounds of fat, and there's no muscle here. That was number 2. And the third one, which really, really broke the back, was some lady made a comment to my wife. Does it get hard to stay into your husband's looks when he gains so much weight? And when I heard that, I really I was so embarrassed and I felt like digging a hole and going in it forever. The next
Wow.
morning, the
Aren't you
next,
aren't you so grateful for those wake up calls though? Like where look where you are now. I mean, our audience can't see you, so they're gonna have to Google you and they're gonna have to go to Uproar with John on Instagram and they're
yeah,
gonna have to check it out for themselves.
Jon,
But
Jon, no H. Well, I go back and forth. This it happened to be it was a girl that said it, and she was a little older, single, and bitter, you know. But I go back and forth. Do I love her? Or do I hate her? You know,
you
like
love her.
I hate her, but
No,
I love it. But I hate
don't
it.
you hate the message, love the messenger, or whatever.
Yeah,
One of those two,
one of
right?
those. Sometime. The next day, I went to the boardwalk. There's a boardwalk next to me, and I'm like, you know what? Rocky style. I found my old sweatpants, and they were barely able to go on. You know, I found a big T-shirt that covers up the rolls, and I probably should have worn a bra. I didn't. I go to the boardwalk, and I have, in my head, I'm gonna be Rocky. You know, and I just hyped myself up, and I started running. And after about, I don't know, 30 feet, I I sat down in such shame and misery. I'm like, you're just a fat pig for the rest of your life. Just accept it. That's what you are. And no one's gonna be attracted to you. And that's okay. Just eat it. And that's what we do. Some of us go into this dark place where we say, I could love myself just the way I am, and you're perfect. And you know what? If that's coming from a healthy place, good. But if it's coming from a place because you're giving up or you're being hard on yourself, that's bad. And
I think you just made an important distinction that I just want to clarify for the audience, which is that there's, you know, there's a basic understanding that it takes work to eat right and exercise, and it's hard. And but that's for health, right? If you don't care, if a person doesn't want to care beyond health because they want to accept the right, they want to accept the body that they're in, it's still important not to reject the health piece and the self-growth piece, right? Because there's a certain body acceptance that's pervading our society right now, that's in direct contrast with the, you have to look perfect, by the old standards. And I think that piece is not a bad thing, right? Not everybody needs to be a size 2 model, and not everybody needs to be a 6'3" football player, huge muscle, and I think it's important to make that distinction, which is that this is not about looking like a supermodel. This is about living your best life, taking care of your body, taking care of your physical health, but also understanding that what's like, as is above, so is below, as is within, so is without. If I'm neglecting my body and I'm eating garbage and I'm not feeling good about the way I'm eating and I'm not moving at all, right? That's usually a reflection of inner angst or inner healing that needs to that can happen. And seeing it rather, so instead of seeing this as a project of getting that perfect body, right, which is becoming a little bit less important, and I think that's a good thing, it's about really looking inwards and saying, what scares me, what stops me, what holds me back, what healing can happen, and that's showing up in my food choices and in my decision to sit on the couch and lick Cheetos off of my fingers, right? And so there's more going on there, and I think that's what we both want to, kind of be tapping into there.
yeah, that's beautifully said. And essentially what you're saying is it's so much bigger than my size, my number, how I look. Looks are super important, but when you unlock a strong body, you can't even imagine what it does to you. It's like you start living for the first time. You start the mountains you could climb and you could hike and you could see nature. And I don't care how old I am. You know, that I notice when people are not strong, they're not healthy, they're not in a good lifestyle, every birthday is like the most depressing thing. Don't ask me how old I am. Don't ask. It's my birthday. And everyone gives, and they're so
It's
sad.
just getting better and better, man. I think it's getting better and better.
I speak to people that they're 80, 70, 90, 60. They feel on fire. They could
I
go.
tell my daughter, who's just graduated high school, she's going to seminary, and I said, if anybody tells you that these are the best years of your life, close your ears and say blah, 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 because it's a lie. You don't have to be having a great time now. You're going to get better. Life is going to get better. You're going to, as you get wiser and as you develop yourself and as you see what's possible and as you just blossom, it just gets better and better and better. So I hope I'm a role model for her for that.
Yeah,
But I really hate when
you
people
are.
say like that high school is the best years of your life. Would you say that?
when you ask people, hey man, how's it going? SSDD, same, right? Different
I
day.
saw my post on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Are you nuts, man? You're basically telling me right now you're done. Like, that's it. There's nowhere to go from here. Why are you even alive? Like, obviously you're not done. And that makes me sad. And that's what happens. Like we said before, we convince ourselves that this is it, is as good as it gets. Your best years are in college, your best years in high. You know why I'm convincing yourself that? Because when I got engaged at 18, and I can't tell you how many people came on to me, dude, you're crazy. What are you, nuts? Dude, you have your whole life ahead of you. And guess what? Every single one of those people who told me that were either divorced or in a miserable marriage. And I get it. And I said to him, listen, buddy, I was only 18, but I said, you're projecting your failures onto me, buddy.
That
And
was wise. That was wise.
but I believe it because I'm not settling for that. I'm not going to do this thing where I screwed up. I got married. No way. My life just started. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky. I start my life, and whatever you do all in. And you feel when you start taking care of yourself, you feel like literally you're starting to live. You could be 60 and you're starting to live. Doesn't matter how bad it's been yesterday or even today, or how far it is. I should have started when I was 20. No, no, no. You start today. It doesn't matter if you're 40. It doesn't matter how old you are. I guarantee you one thing. Forget about the size of your dress. It's all pretty. It's great. The compliments, it's nice. It feels good. It gets old, right? It gets old. The compliments get old, but you know what never gets old? I tell my kids, you could try running. You could try working out. You're never going to catch up to me, boy. Never. Because you know what? I'm never stopping. And you think it's easy? It's not easy. But I go back to the baseline. And
So let me circle back to your experience. Sorry, just because I feel like I left one piece like sort of unsaid, which is that you had you had a couple of epiphanies, right? And you had a couple of um I guess, yeah, epiphanies where it was like no more of this. But you'd also been doing something that I think a lot of my listeners can relate to, which is that you were having like feast and famine cycles, right? So you went from being a lump of clay, right, to sorry,
spit it out.
to Mr. Macro, Mr. Micro, Macro, nutrients, and then back to, 3 pizzas from Bravo and 3 more from there. And I think a lot of my clientele really can relate to that struggle, maybe not to the extent that you described it, but, they'll do OA or they'll do Wegovy, which we both know we are very against that, or they'll put balls behind their ears and they'll go for 6 months and really eat nothing, right? Expecting, and nobody ever expects to gain all their weight back, ever, ever, ever. They expect to transition into balance. However, they've never done balanced. They have no practice doing balance, and they just put their body in a massive physiological disadvantage where as soon as it comes out of the famine and as soon as it has permission to eat again, it's going to go, no matter how much self-control you have, it's like saying, I will stay up for 3 nights straight. Like I'll just not sleep at all. And then I'll ease into 6 hours a night. You will not be able to, right? Even if it's not about self-control, your eyes will close. Right. And the longer you do this famine, the harder it'll be to to go there. And I work with so many people who have done multiple cycles of that. And usually when they're ready to be coached, to come into my program, it's because they're finally ready to accept that the cycle of starvation and then, famine, they just think, let me just give it one more try, or I'll just do this 4-day cleanse and then I'll just go straight into normal eating. So I guess what I'm asking is, how do you break that cycle? Right? Meaning, when you got these wake-up calls, why don't you just go into another cycle of famine? That's what I'm curious about. And how do we help people understand that these cycles will continue until you're ready for a balanced approach?
Thank you for that question. I feel like we could have a 6-hour podcast.
We could keep going and going.
I can even get started. All right. So that's a very important question. I want the listeners to listen very, very closely. Okay, because what we're about to say is gold, and hold on for this for dear life. All right. Everyone throws around the word positivity. Yes, great word, but it means something. It actually means something. For me, I believe that happiness is a very Breslov concept, but happiness and feeling good and positive should be your gauge at all times of your life. I don't mean feeling euphoric. I mean deep-rooted happiness. Now
You're not talking about pleasure.
Not
I'm talking
pleasure.
about happiness.
I'm talking about deep, and happiness is a very light word. I would like to call it maybe feeling good. feeling good positively about yourself, about what you're doing, feeling accomplished or feeling something positive. This is something good. You just know, right? When you see somebody kick a homeless man, doesn't matter how old you are or how educated you are, that feels bad.
Thank you for that example.
Right?
Yes.
But when you see somebody give money and food to a homeless man and take care of them and give them their shirt, doesn't matter how educated you are, it feels good. So whatever that good is right there, that deep rooted natural understanding, you got to tap into that. Now let's analyze this for a second. All right. Let's just say I'm one of the customers that say I'm one of your clients. And I say, you know what? I'm happy being heavy. I'm perfectly fine the way I am. I eat a lot. I eat a ton. I don't exercise. And you know what? I'm perfect. Okay. So let's ask yourself, let's be honest. When you sit down at 11 o'clock at night, big bag of chips, Danish, I'm just going to describe what I used to do, what I want to do every day. Huge bag of chips, 6 donuts from Dunkin' Donuts, 3 bags of gummy bears, just finished eating shawarma a half hour ago, big sodas, right? I'm stuffing my face watching Netflix. How do I feel when I'm done? If you honestly could tell me that you feel good, you actually feel energized, you feel strong, you feel happy, you feel content, you feel like this is very good for your body and for your mind, then good. God bless you. You're doing something great. But if you tell me you feel dark and you feel disgusting and you don't feel good about yourself, then mark that. This does not make me feel good. Okay. Just mark it. We're not crying. We're just marking it. Okay. And put that aside. Next day, you go for a walk. You walk, you take your socks and shoes off. You walk in the shore a little bit. Your feet are wet. You get your heart moving a little bit. You eat a nice, fresh, delicious, crispy salad. It tastes great. Great protein, grilled, lean, tasty, savory, nice cup of wine, good meal. You feel good. You stop eating. You eat a solid dinner and you stop eating at a normal hour. You go and you're walking around. How do you feel today? Just tell me how you feel, honestly. Do you feel good? Do you feel like you had a good day? Vibrant? You feel clean? You have some energy? You don't feel like you're falling asleep in your chair at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Mark it. Mark that point down. And now you start adding these points up. You start realizing a consistency here. I don't feel good when I starve myself. It doesn't feel good to starve
There you
myself.
go. There you go. It's
That means
misaligned. It's out of alignment. I'm weak. I'm cranky.
I don't feel good. It's not working. This cannot be the answer. It can't be the answer. There's something wrong. We have to answer. If you feel like you're trapped in your marriage, there's something wrong. I'm not saying run. I'm just saying we have to discuss it. There's something wrong. If you feel like being around your kid makes you miserable, there's something wrong. We got to analyze it. So if I'm starving myself, yeah, I feel good in my heels, right? I look so sexy. Wow, you look so good. You lost so much weight. That feels good for a few seconds, but I'm starving. And I wake up, there's no will to live anymore. I hate life. I used to like holidays for food. I used to like weddings. I don't want to do anything.
I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go out to eat. I don't want to hang out with my friends. Right. So I think that alignment is exactly what you're talking about. Is this aligned? And is this sustainable? Right. So my motto is I cannot be hungry. I cannot be deprived physically or emotionally. And it's got to be sustainable. And that is the baseline for which we eat. Right. I'm wondering if you have a similar baseline for exercise, or do you push exercise? How do you, because I'm not a big believer in pushing because I want sustainability. So I'll push you because it takes push just to do the baseline. And, that takes its own push. But how do you draw the line of, let's say somebody says, I want to train 5 days a week for, 6 hours a day, and, or coach me until I throw up, right? So will you go along with that, or do you help them pace themselves so they don't burn out?
The first thing I do is I have a deep conversation with them like we're having right now. Nothing to do with exercise, nothing to do with eating. I just want to know where they're at. I could see right away, where are they? Are they high energy? Are they low energy? Are they good habits, bad habits? Are they lazy? What's their movement? What's their eating habits? What's their family life like? Their personal life? What's the voice in their head? I just want to know where they're at. Based on their energy level, I know what they're ready for. Everyone could do something, right? For some people, to borrow from my friend Jordan Peterson, some people want to be a stand-up comic. And he once said this amazing point. And this lady, she was petrified to go on stage, right? In fact, she was petrified to even get out of bed. Okay, so you don't have to get on stage and you don't have to get out of bed. Only thing you could do is just maybe open your eyes and lean your head up. Can we do that? Yeah, I could do that. Okay, great. So for 3 days, let's lean your head up until that gets too easy and you say, I need more. Perfect. Let's sit up in bed. And then next week, maybe we'll even take one leg down off the bed. And then the week after that, two legs. And one by one, you take these tiny little micro steps, and each step feels good. If I'm doing too much, if I jump from bed right away to the stage, it's never going to work, and I'll never go back on stage again. Which is why people say, I don't want to eat healthy. They're so burnt and traumatized that it's just the whole parsha is miserable. They don't want to go near it.
Yeah. I mean, you said something very important, which is also that we have this vision of where we want to go, right? Then we take those micro baby steps, right? And then you added a line, which is that the whole process feels good. And I think that that's an important piece to drive home, which is that we create the vision, we create the goal, and then we create the steps towards the goal. And then we really kind of have to forget about the goal. Not that we want to lose sight of it completely, but for a lot of people, there's a lot of anxiety of, I'm not there yet, and they're not enjoying the process, and they're not celebrating the little milestones, and they're not noticing the little wins because, well, I'm not 6'3" and 250 pounds of muscle yet, or I'm not, whatever it is. And without realizing that this kind of progress really does take time. So how do you help clients? Two questions. How do you help clients enjoy the process, not just the outcome? And how do you mark progress without pounds or inches or weights, like meaning just in terms of emotional well-being? Because pounds are easy and they're measurable and can do the SMART goals. Inches are easy, measurable, SMART goals. But if somebody's made, let's say, very little muscle mass difference, right? But their head is in a better space, and they're waking up more positive, and they're forgiving themselves faster when they slip up, and they're bouncing back faster when they slip up, and they are, feeling more self-worth. How do you help people enjoy the process, notice the process, and even measure the process?
Yeah, because people say, I still feel weak, like I've been working out for 3 months, 4 months. I've been trying to eat healthy. I feel like I'm gaining, what's going on? This thing's not working, So that's a great question. There's a couple of things to say. First of all, if you said to me, John, I just want you to know I'm going to be making a podcast soon, I would tell you that the day you order those microphones is the day you won. That's it. You have a podcast already now, just because you did that first step. Doesn't matter how many videos. How many do you need? You need 50 videos? You need 1,000, 2,000? When do you become the podcast lady? You know when? The first thing you ever do towards making the podcast. That's when you won. The rest is easy sauce, That's the same thing. Where am I headed? What do I want to do? Am I going to compete for a trophy? Am I trying to run down the runway and trying to dress? Like, where am I going? The day that I decide on Tuesday at 11:30 a.m., I decide to do the first step towards getting my life better. I take my cyanide pills and I throw it out of the house. I take my body fat pills. I take it out of the house. That's it. You won that day. And I tell people all the time, the day that you start, it's not with me. The day you start anything, the day you start doing one thing in your mind, you know what? I'm making a difference now. That day you already won.
I agree.
You're strong.
I agree. I mean, if I'm a cranky wife, and I make a determination that I am going to be, gracious, patient, positive. And for this whole day, I am gracious, patient, positive. Now go ask me what kind of wife I am. I am a gracious, patient, positive wife. Tomorrow is the future. The past is the past. I am right. If you tell me today that you quit smoking, are you a smoker or are you not? You made it through the day. Are you a smoker or are you not a smoker? You are not a smoker.
That's right.
Do it again tomorrow. You're still not a smoker. Do it again the next day. You're still not a smoker, right? But people get frustrated. So how do we right now? You're telling me about day one is the win, right? What about day 72?
Real life. Day 72, blood, sweat, tears is literally, as I look behind me, there's a path of blood and I still don't see results. What's going on? So that's when we got to go back to the baseline. We got to remind ourselves, what am I doing? And where am I going? Why am I doing it? Imagine somebody says to you, Basya, I want to make money. I want to make a podcast. I want to make a business. I want to do coaching business. And you give them the steps and she starts working and she's like, I didn't sell anything yet. Okay. So what do you want to do, Khani? You want to go back to bed? For sure, bed's not making you money. So you got to be very clear that whatever you're doing, you have to know, is this the right thing to do or not? I know for sure that if I'm exercising and I'm eating well, I'm on a path towards results. And if I don't do that, I'm not going to get results. I got to remind myself that. So I say to people, you might not, let's say right now, you don't see results. What do you want to do? You want to go back to the old way? You think you're going to see results like that? No, you won't.
Right.
So it's not about the result. And who's in charge
Not
of
about the result. It's about what you said, feeling good today. Did you feel good today about forget about your weight, forget about your muscle mass, your choices. Did your choices feel good today? And if the answer is only if it got me a certain result, then we're on the wrong path, because we're doing this for life, right? You're already there and you're still doing it. I'm already there and I'm still doing it.
I'm
right?
on the way.
Yeah. But you're right. So if you're already there and you're doing it, and I'm already there and I'm doing it, so we don't talk about things like going on a diet and off a diet, right? We're just doing it and doing it and doing it. And if it felt good today, do it again tomorrow. You're gonna get results, but the journey is the point, because I get to feel good every day and you get to feel good every day. So how are we losing out? I think that's kind of exactly what you're saying.
This guy said to me yesterday, this guy just called me yesterday. He told me he did diet after diet after diet and and workout, whatever. He had a goal. His goal was 162 pounds. And for some reason, every single time after he hit his goal, he got heavy again and fell off the wagon. Why? I'm like, well, I'm going to tell you why, buddy. You had one goal to hit 162, and then you're done. That's it. It's over. Now what? Now you're screwed. If your goal is something that fits in a tiny little box and that's all you're looking at, you're missing the whole process. You're missing.
Yeah. So the chase is over. You won. Now what?
That's right.
So I think that's
I want to walk my
a great
daughter
way to say.
down the aisle. So I'm going to spend my whole life just thinking about the day I walk her down the aisle. Every day is building towards that day. You can't just skip the process. You got to go every day. And it doesn't matter about the later. It's literally now. You just live it now. You want to be strong now. You want to feel good now. You want to take care of yourself now. You want to be a role model now. You want to feel strong now. You want to be inspirational now. You want to grow now. There's no tomorrow. I might not even be here tomorrow. It's now. Now. How do you, did you do the work? Yes. Do you feel good or do you regret it? Okay, you're looking for the 6-pack. You only have 2, or maybe you have 1. Just put your shirt down, relax, stop looking in the mirror. You feel good. That's all that matters. You're doing the right thing. You feel good.
That's it. You did today feel good? And if the answer is only if it brings me with the results for tomorrow, then we're not on the right path. The day has to feel good in and of itself. And it's right. And that, I think that carries over to every single area of our life. I think that exercise and, fitness, eating well, money, business, all of these things are really all the same thing. They're all just entryways into our self and understanding our self-worth, our self-love, our motivation, our inspiration, how much, how much we want out of this life and how much we're willing to put in to get those results. And also to find out what we're made of, to find out what our limits are, and then to make that just the starting point, right? So if I become more patient through this process, that's growth. If I become more resilient through this process, that's growth. If I become more self-loving through this process or more forgiving through this process, that's like really the point. That's, I think, the core point there.
Yes. Perfect. Yes.
Okay, so I feel like we could keep going and going, but for the sake of time, I'm going to throw a couple of little bite-sized questions that you don't get to think about. You just need to answer me. You can pause for like 2 seconds, but don't edit. Just think and spit it right back at me. All right, these are the bite-sized questions. What are your most productive hours of the day?
Most productive hours of the day, it's going to be a cheesy answer, but I have a lot of productive hours in the day.
That could be your answer. That's fair enough. I feel like you actually do. Would you say all of them?
I can't say all of them, but a lot of them.
Okay. Go to splurge meal.
Oh, okay. It starts with, first of all, I try not to eat the whole day that day, so I could really go ahead and go crazy. I'm a big Chinese guy. I start with the crunchy noodles. I dip it into the duck sauce. I get the steamed dumplings and the fried dumplings with the garlic sauce and the peanut sauce.
Okay, you better stop. You're going to make everybody
No, we're going. Pickled cabbage, you got the peanut butter on top, sesame chicken and sesame beef, but I always like cake for dessert with some oranges, a little whipped cream. If I can get the whipped cream, by the way, and the cherries, I go for it for sure. I don't drink the soda.
Please tell us this is once a year, please.
Oh, no way.
For the sake of my audience.
I earn these Chinese. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I earn these meals all the time. Welcome to my world. Life is awesome.
Fair enough. What's your happy place?
What do you mean happy place?
However you determine that what I mean.
My happy place is when I put my head on my pillow and I know that I put a solid effort into my day, into the people that matter to me, into myself,
I
into
like that.
relationships. That's
Like
my
like a day well spent and just like fall asleep.
that's it. That's my happy place.
Morning routine.
Get up, brush my teeth, battle not to touch that phone, get on with the day. I meditate, I pray, I go to work. I'm right away. I kiss my kids, grab my coffee, thank my wife with the deepest part of my love for making me that coffee and appreciate and not taking it for granted. But I'm up and I go. I
What
don't,
time do you get up?
you got to first really ask what time do I go to sleep in order for that
Okay. What
to
time do you go to
prepare.
sleep?
I go to sleep on average somewhere between 12 and 1 on a good day. And my alarm's somewhere between in the 6s and 7.
Nice.
I keep
Okay.
much time before I'm out.
Okay. Mine's not that different. I go to bed around 1 and my alarm goes off at 7, but I wake up before my alarm every single day. And I like the alarm is the cutoff point. Like that's where like if you don't get up now, then you're not going to get a normal hit voted in. But thank God I've been waking up before my alarm. Recent travels.
Ooh, recent travels, Israel. That's the most
Nice.
that
Nice.
Israel's awesome. Costa Rica was another good one. That was
That's on
fun.
my bucket list.
Oh yeah. If you
That's my
need
bucket list.
advice, I will definitely give it to you.
Did you surf?
I didn't surf because usually the surfboards go underwater because I'm too heavy. But I'll tell you what we did do. We ATV'd while pulling guavas off the tree and bananas, eating it while monkeys were throwing their feces at us and drove through big holes from the volcano that made big craters in the ground. That we did.
Okay, that sounds compelling.
That was one thing.
Um, Favorite podcaster besides us?
Besides for you,
Yeah.
guy,
Who's that?
one guy you're asking, one person, guy,
Yeah, or a couple.
Lex Friedman.
Like I ask these questions because I'm taking names, but how do you
Yeah,
what do you think about Ed Milet?
actually don't know that.
Okay, so that's a good one too.
Okay,
That's what I'm listening to right now.
Ed Miles, like that.
Okay, give us your
Andrew,
favorite.
Andrew Huberman, another one. If you want to be
Nice.
really smarter than you already are.
Give me your favorite mantra. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but your most useful when you're pushing yourself or when you're trying to rev the engines to get yourself going.
Do it now.
That's what you tell yourself?
Yeah, I actually wear a bracelet right here. This
Yeah,
one says, it's my bracelet. It says, I can and I will.
I like that. I can and I will, or do it now. Guys, mark
Now,
those words. That's gold because if you can see what he accomplished, you'll see that that's all it takes. Just do it now.
don't think about it. Literally, stop thinking and just save the speech. First, do it, then tell me later why you can't do it.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Any closing messages that you want to give our listeners, your listeners, inspiration, story, a story that happened recently, maybe that would be inspiring. Any closing words here?
I'll tell you quickly. I want first of all, just look at what Basya is doing. You go on your own. One thing, no, it literally doesn't stop. The cookies, I got cookies in the mail, beautiful packaging, marketing, inspirational quotes and podcasts and videos and coaching and programming and being an inspiration and learning and humbling and still growing. God, listen to what happens when you put the work in. It just your whole life starts coming out of you. I walked into a store. I wanted to buy something. You could, I don't know, let's call it a tire. I walked into the store and I'm looking at the store. I had a few minutes and all of a sudden the guy sees me and right away this happens, when you see somebody comes in with an energy, he's like, what's your deal? I'm like, oh, what's my deal with what? He's like, I'm falling apart, I'm divorced, I'm depressed, I feel sick, my kids hate me, literally, like one thing after another. He opened up, broke down. I'm like, dude, you got to reset, like big time. And he started insisting that he comes to me to work with me, and I'm like, I don't really have time. He begged me that day. I made time with this guy. He's on the floor and I asked him to do something, a little move. I don't pull your knee to your chest. And he screwed it up. I'm like, it's all right. Just do it like this. And he breaks down crying. He's like, I'm so stupid. I'm a loser. I do everything wrong. Nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. I shouldn't even be here anymore. I'm like, whoa, dude, listen to me. Listen to me right now. You get rid of that this second. As long as you're in my presence, I don't want to ever, ever hear you say a negative thing about yourself again. You go home and you could yell at yourself all day, not in front of me. This guy snapped out of it, literally snapped out of it. I said, I don't want to hear you crying. I don't want to hear you complaining. You're here, man. Look, you said that you want to come. You showed up.
Yeah, he like found his way in, even though your schedule is packed.
Exactly.
Like he made that happen.
I don't have time for you, man. You're here. You somehow, I don't know what you did to me. You managed to get me to take care of you right now. And he started coming, boom. And he started working. And he started exercising, started eating better. Right away, he stopped taking these pills. He stopped going to Vegas to do all these stupid gambling and cry himself to sleep and talk to old ladies. And, it's crazy. Within 2 months, literally within 2 months, he met the girl of his dreams only because he started dressing better. He started taking care of himself. He started answering texts and answering people. And he went and he showed him. He felt good about himself. And fast forward, this guy got married, his kids, he's taking care of himself, his business, nothing to do with me. It's all him. It's because this guy, he decided to make a change. He wasn't happy. And he realized that if he takes care of himself, the life opens. This guy's entire life just opened out of nowhere. That's my message. If you're not happy, do something about it. Don't talk about it. Don't read books about why it's okay. No, stop with that. It's not okay. You're not happy. Make a change. You don't know where to go? Ask for help. Somebody will help you. Make a change and do it now.
I think you're saying something so powerful, which is that a lot of people want better and they want different, but they're waiting for certain circumstances to change, whether their marriage to get better or till they make more money or till they have more time or till they, till their kids start behaving or till it, right? And that's all of those things might be valid, meaning you can call them reasons, right? You can call them reasons, but they shouldn't be, but we can call them also excuses. And I try to stay humble and I try to really stay open to people suffering because people really do have it rough, right? People have medical conditions, people have health conditions, people have financial constraints, people have time constraints, people have, right? And then people have their own inner demons and all of that. All of that is a good enough reason not to expect yourself to be there, but it's not enough of a reason to let yourself do nothing. That's what I want to give over, which is that use that as your grace. Find grace that, okay, so I'm not going to be, within 3 months, I'm not going to completely change my life around, but that's not a reason to do nothing. Nothing is a reason to do nothing. Nothing.
And I'll understand you if you want to stay there. I won't judge you because I get it. You have hardships and it holds you back, and I understand, and I do not judge you for it. But you have to ask yourself, do you want to stay here forever? If you do, then continue what you're doing. If you want to get out of it, because you could, if you want to get out of it, there's ways to get out of it. And that's what you ask yourself. Do I want to stay here and have an excuse? And it's okay. I could have a valid reason and I could die like this. And then in my tombstone, it'll say this person was treated unfair by life, and it's okay. Or you could put it away, lock it up, and use it to fuel you in a different life, and then make a better life for yourself and for the people after you. That's your decision. Either one.
I like to tell my clients, you can have my pity, or you can have my respect. You only get to choose one. Write that down. Because if they come in with a rough week, they'll get my pity.
I just got to say that over 1 second. I got to say it over.
You can have my pity,
or you could have
my respect. But you can only get one.
That's, God bless you. That was awesome.
That's gold, right? Because, and when I say pity, I don't mean in a bad way. I really get it. And it's even empathy. But imagine if with all that, you still did instead of getting the A+, you took the A. Instead of taking the A, you took the A-. Instead of taking the A-, you took the B+. Instead of saying, all right, I'll take the F and just quitting, then you have my respect, right? If you brush yourself off after a little overeating and continued on, so right, that you got a B+ instead of an A, that is the A. That's my respect, right? You want to give me you want to tell me everything that went wrong this week? My heart will actually really feel for you. I really will feel for you. But it's you're the one with the week that didn't happen. John, I don't know how to thank you for your time. I feel like we have a whole nother podcast just to close all the pieces that we opened up, but we're already over an hour in, and we gotta finish here. Thank you so much again for being on.
Thank you, Basya. This was really a pleasure. I appreciate you and I appreciate what you're doing. Thanks for the invitation.